Born to fail, bred to survive. From these streets to the heights I'll thrive.
Life wasn't easy, but I made it mine.
Chapter 3. First Light in the Favela. Vinny woke to the sound of roosters crowing somewhere down the slope, mixed with the low rumble of a distant motorcycle and the sharp cry of a child calling for May. Sunlight sliced through the thin curtains of the spare room Antonio had given him. Bare concrete walls, a single bulb hanging from twisted wire, a mattress on the floor that smelled faintly of salt and old wood. His body ached from the flight and the tension of the last weeks, but the weight in his chest felt lighter, like someone had finally cut the ropes. He sat up, rubbed his face, and listened. The house was quiet except for the clatter of pans in the kitchen. Graciela was already moving. Early riser, like most here. Antonio had explained last night over the beer and sandwich. In Brazil, you get up with the sun, or you miss the day. Work starts early. Everything starts early. Vinny pulled on yesterday's clothes. Jeans, plain t-shirt, the worn sneakers he'd bought cheap before leaving New York, and stepped out. The balcony overlooked the steep hillside. Houses stacked like mismatched bricks, red-tiled roofs, tin sheets patched here and there, laundry flapping on lines strung between poles. Narrow alleys twisted down toward the flatter streets near the port, where the big ships loomed like steel giants against the morning haze. Funk music pulsed faintly from a neighbor's open door, bass thumping against the concrete. Kids darted past on foot or bike, school backpacks bouncing. A woman balanced a basket of bread on her head, calling out, "Pao fresco," as she climbed the steps. Graciela looked up from the stove when he entered the kitchen. She was sturdy, dark hair tied back, apron dusted with flour. "Bom dia, Vinny. Sleep okay?" "Bom dia. Better than the plane seat." She laughed softly, set a plate in front of him. Pão de queijo still warm, scrambled eggs with tomatoes and onions, strong black coffee in a small cup. "Eat. You look like you need meat on those bones." Antonio joined them, wiping sleep from his eyes. He was already dressed for the day. Faded polo, flip-flops. "You ready to see the neighborhood? Can't hide in here forever." Vinny nodded, swallowing the last bite. "Show me." They stepped out into the steep street. The air was thick, salt from the nearby ocean, exhaust from the port, grilling meat from someone's breakfast. The hill was alive. Women sweeping porches, men loading trucks with crates, teenagers on motos zipping up the narrow paths like they owned the gravity. Antonio pointed as they walked. Down there, the main road, stores, barber shop, padaria. Up here, more houses, but quieter. Watch your step. Steps are uneven after rain. They passed a small bar, corner shop with shelves of beer, cigarettes, snacks, and a fridge humming in the back. The owner, a wiry guy named Paulo, waved Antonio over. "Hey, Antonio, Quemeo Novo?" "Vinny, friend from up north, staying a while." Paulo eyed Vinny, friendly but cautious. "Benvindo. Need anything? Come here." Vinny bought a bottle of Guarana Antarctica, cold, sweet fizz, and they kept moving. Antonio explained the basics. Electricity came and went, water too sometimes. But people made do. Neighbors shared generators during blackouts, passed buckets during shortages. The community was tight, everyone knew everyone, watched each other's backs. But outsiders, they earned trust. Slow. They reached a small praca halfway down, a concrete patch with a few benches, kids kicking a worn soccer ball, an old man selling agua de coco from a cooler. Antonio bought two, handed one to Vinny. "Drink. Hydrate or die trying in this heat." Vinny sipped, feeling the coconut water cut through the humidity. "What's the play here? I got some cash, but it won't last forever. Need to start something." Antonio leaned against a wall, arms crossed. "Gloria said you ran a restaurant." Good with food? Yeah, Italian mostly, but I can learn. Food works here. People eat on the go. Pastel, cucina, barbecue, or open a small place. Grill meats, serve beer. Dollar stretches, but locals don't have much. Start small, maybe help at a bar. Learn the ropes. Or delivery. Port workers need lunch brought up the hill. Motos everywhere. Vinny thought of Jake's place, the clatter of plates, regulars' faces, the rhythm of a busy kitchen. They walked farther, past a barber shop blasting music, kids getting fades, a woman selling brigadeiro from a tray, a group of men playing dominoes under a tarp. Eyes followed Vinny, curious, not hostile. Antonio nodded to people as they went, vouching without words. He glanced at Antonio, sensing the man was holding back. But that's not why Gloria sent me to you, is it? She mentioned family, connections, said things had changed since my father's time. Antonio's face tightened, and he gestured toward a quieter bench under a scraggly tree at the edge of the praca. Sit. We talk here, not in the open like this. They moved, settling onto the worn concrete. Antonio pulled out a cigarette, lit it with a flick of his lighter, and exhaled a long plume of smoke that hung in the still air. Gloria called ahead, yes, but she didn't tell you everything, not yet. First, tell me, what do you know about your father? The real story, not the scraps you've pieced together. Vinny stared at the ground, kicking at a loose pebble. Not much. He left when I was a kid. Mom said he was no good, always chasing trouble. Never sent money, never visited. I grew up thinking he was just another deadbeat. Then, years later, Gloria starts dropping hints. Said he was tangled with a mob in New York. Dante Carnelian's crew. I found out recently they were shaking me down for his old debts, forcing me to pay what he owed. Gloria told me he tried to run, come back for us. But they caught him, killed him in an alley. That's why I'm here, running from the same bastards. Antonio took a deep drag, his eyes distant, like he was pulling memories from the depths. Your father, João Santos, before he became John in New York, was no deadbeat. He was one of us. Born here, in Santos, in Brazil, especially back then on the coast. A man's last name often came from what he did as trade, or the place he helped build. Our people didn't just get called Santos by chance. They became Santos. Generations ago, when this was still just a muddy port full of mangroves, our ancestors were the ones who cleared the land, built the first piers, raised the warehouses, and ran the whole operation during the coffee boom. The city grew up around them. Folks started calling them Os Santos, the men of Santos, the builders of Santos. The name stuck, and it became our family's mark. Our familia, the Santos clan. We've been in Brazil for generations, started as small-time smugglers back in the old days, during the dictatorship. Coffee, sugar, whatever moved through the ports. But it grew. Your grandfather, Miguel Santos, he saw the rot in the system, the corruption, the politicians lining their pockets while the people starved. He turned it into something bigger. Legit on the surface, shipping companies, warehouses, import-export firms controlling half the cargo through Santos and Rio. But underneath, we operate on the fringes. Call us a family business with teeth. Vinny's brow furrowed. Mob? Like the ones I left behind? Antonio chuckled, but it was bitter, laced with pride. Not like them. Not anymore. We went legit where we could. Pay taxes, hire locals, build schools in the favelas. But we still pull strings. Fight the real criminals. The corrupt officials who sell out Brazil to foreign vultures. The cartels flooding the streets with poison. We're the good guys in a dirty game. Trying to make Brazil free, strong. Remove the leeches in Brasilia. Some call us heroes. The crooked politicians brand us criminals, send federales sniffing around. The honest ones? They work with us in the shadows, tips on raids, blind eyes turned. We've got judges, cops, even senators who owe us. Power, Vinny. Real power. Not the penny anti-extortion rackets in New York. Vinny's mind reeled, piecing it together. The wooden elephant in his pocket suddenly felt heavier, a talisman from a world he never knew. And my father? Where did he fit in? Antonio stubbed out his cigarette on the bench, grinding it under his heel. Joao was the heir, Miguel's oldest son. Sharp, ambitious. He ran operations here in the 80s, expanded our hold on the ports, shut down rivals without spilling too much blood. But he fell in love. Your mother, American girl, visiting on some exchange program. She didn't know the full story at first. They married quick, moved to New York for a fresh start. Joao thought he could leave it all behind, build a normal life. But the family business doesn't let go easy. And then Dante's crew got their hooks in him up there. Old alliances from the smuggling days turned sour. Joao borrowed money to start a legit venture, a restaurant like yours. But it went bad. Debts piled up. He tried to run back here, to us. But your mother, she wouldn't come. Said she didn't want that life for you. The violence, the shadows. So Joao stayed, tried to pay it off. But when he couldn't, he planned to grab you and your mom, flee south. Dante found out. Killed him before he could board the plane. Vinny's fists clenched, the old anger bubbling up, mixed with something new. Regret, maybe, for a man he never mourned properly. Why didn't anyone tell me? Reach out? I grew up scraping by, thinking I was alone. Antonio placed a hand on Vinny's shoulder, firm and steady. Your mother's wish. She made Joao promise. Keep you out. Gloria was her friend, our watchdog in New York. She was only to tell you if it became necessary, if the past came knocking, like it did with Dante. We respected that, watched from afar. But now, you're here. Antonio paused, letting the words settle like the humid air around them. He flicked another cigarette from the pack, lit it, and took a slow drag before continuing. There is one more thing, Vinny. Your name. Vinny Santos. That is your real name, not Jake. Jake was the name your father slapped on you after you were born, to hide you, to keep you safe from the shadows he couldn't escape. You were born right here, in Santos, Brazil. November 1st, All Saints' Day. Your mother went into labor early, and Joao, your father, rushed her to the hospital in the Port District. The birth certificate says Vinny Santos. No hyphen, no dose, just Santos. Pure, like the city our family helped raise from the mud. Vinny felt the bench shift under him, like the ground had tilted. The Praca noise faded, the kids' shouts, the coconut vendor's call, replaced by a rushing in his ears. Born here? I thought. Mom always said Baltimore, 1968. Papers, everything. Antonio shook his head, eyes steady. Your mother changed the story when she took you north. After Joao was killed, she was terrified the New York crew, or worse, the old rivals here, would come looking for his son. She burned the original birth records she could get her hands on, got new ones forged stateside, had you baptized again under Jake to seal it. Gloria helped with the paperwork, kept the secret. But the truth never dies in blood. Your passport? The one Ed got you? It's not fake. It's a reactivation. We had copies buried in family archives. When Gloria called ahead, she told us, he's coming home as Vinny. Make sure he knows. Vinny stared at his hands, the calluses from years of kitchen work suddenly foreign. Vinny Santos. Not a new alias, but an old truth, clawing its way back. The wooden elephant in his pocket felt warmer, like it had been waiting for this moment. All these years, I thought I was starting over. Turns out I was just coming back. Antonio clapped him on the shoulder again, firmer this time. Exactly. You're not running to paradise anymore. You're claiming what's yours. The name, the blood, the seat at the table. But remember, names like ours carry weight. Wear it proud, but wear it careful. They sat in silence a beat longer, the sun climbing higher, baking the concrete. Vinny exhaled, long and slow. Jake felt farther away now, a ghost from another life. Vinny Santos stared out over the favela, the port glittering below like a promise finally kept. Blood calls to blood. Because of Joao's position, next in line when he died. You're the heir, Vinny. A director in the family council. Not some Favelado scraping by. You step into his shoes, learn the ropes, and one day you help lead. Vinny blinked, the words landing like punches. Me? A boss? I ran a pasta joint, not a whatever this is. Antonio's eyes gleamed. Exactly why you're perfect. Fresh eyes, no old grudges. We'll set you up proper. An office at the port of Santos, overlooking the docks, secure. You'll start slow. Shadow me on shipments. Learn the legit side. Container manifests, customs deals. We even own restaurants. You will help oversee all of our operations, Vinny. Then the real work. Spotting corrupt officials. Rerouting cargoes to cut off the bad players. Build alliances. And the money? Forget scraping by. Directors pull 6 figures easy, plus perks. Houses, cars, protection. But it's not free. We fight for Brazil's soul. Make it prosperous. Free from the chains. Vinny leaned back, the Praca's noise fading as his thoughts raced. Power. Family. A legacy he never imagined. But Gloria's warnings echoed. Things had changed, but danger lingered. And the New York mob? Dante? They'll come looking. I didn't cover my tracks perfectly. Antonio's face darkened, his voice dropping to a growl. We've been shutting them down here for years. Their tentacles reach into Brazil, laundering through our ports, partnering with the worst cartels. We've hit their operations hard, seized shipments, turned their guys to the federales. If they learn you're here, and they will eventually, they'll see it as a chance to strike back. At you, at us. Could escalate to war. Assassins in the shadows, bombs on trucks. But you're family now. We protect our own. This is your destiny, Vinny. You are a Santos. You'll learn to fight back, Brazilian style. Not just run. Vinny absorbed it, the coconut husk empty in his hand. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows over the favela. He wasn't just escaping anymore. He was stepping into a storm. But for the first time, it felt like his storm. When do we start? Antonio stood, clapping Vinny on the back. Tomorrow. Port office at dawn. Welcome home, Director. They walked back up the hill in silence, the weight of revelation settling like the humid air. Vinny Jake no more, felt the pull of roots he never knew, twisting deep into Brazilian soil. Ghosts of his father lingered, but now they whispered of power, not just pain. The favela sprawled below, alive and unforgiving, a fitting cradle for what came next. Small steps? No. Giant leaps into the unknown. In the survival meant claiming your place, or being claimed by it. Back at the house by noon, Graciela had lunch ready. Arroz, feijão, grilled chicken, farofa. Simple, hearty. Vinny ate like he hadn't in days. Antonio sat across from Vinny at the kitchen table back at the house, the remains of lunch cleared away. Graciela quietly washing dishes in the background to give them space. The fan overhead spun lazily, stirring the humid air without cooling it much. Antonio leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice low and steady. Tomorrow, I take you to the port office first thing. No more casual talk about loading trucks or driving deliveries. That was just to get you settled if things went sideways. You're not starting at the bottom. Your family, a director. We'll get you straight into the real work, shadowing me on the legit side first. Container logs, customs clearances, supplier meetings. Then Paula will show you the rest. Our restaurants, other businesses. Vinny raised an eyebrow. Paula. Antonio's face softened with a proud half-smile. My daughter. She's sharp. Handles a lot of the day-to-day now. Speaks English better than most. Grew up splitting time between here and Miami for school. Beautiful too, but don't let that distract you. She's tougher than she looks. Tonight, she'll take you to your place. Get you settled. Vinny blinked. My place? Directors don't crash in spare rooms forever. We have buildings, our own. One right on the edge of the Canal District. Prime view of the port lights at night. Top floor penthouse, fully furnished. Everything you need. King bed, full kitchen. Living room with balcony overlooking the water. Gated entrance, 24-hour security. Doormen, cameras everywhere. Armed patrols on the perimeter. Walls high. Electric fencing on top. The works. Brazil style. No one gets in without clearance. Maid comes twice a week to clean. Stock the fridge if you want. There's a car waiting in the underground garage. Black SUV. Tinted, low-key, but bullet-resistant glass just in case. Driver lives in the building, on call 24/7s. You say go, he goes. Vinny let out a low whistle, the scale hitting him again. This wasn't scraping by in a favela flat. This was stepping into a different world entirely. Antonio continued. Paula will pick you up here around 7. She'll drive you over, show you the apartment, get you keys and codes. Then tomorrow, she takes you around to our business's warehouses, the export office downtown, a couple restaurants we own on the beach side, introductions. People need to see your face, know you're Joao's son, Vinny Santos, not some gringo who wandered in. He paused, eyeing Vinny with a knowing look. Your Portuguese is decent, better than most Americans who show up, but you still sound like a gringo. The accent's thick, the rhythm's off. Paula. We'll help with that too. She's patient. You'll practice on the drive, over dinner maybe. She'll help you and translate when needed. Vinny felt a flicker in his chest, something between nerves and anticipation. And after the tours? After that, you shadow us both. Me on the operations side. How we move cargo clean. How we spot the corrupt customs guys. And flip them or cut them out. Paula on the business development. Deals, partnerships, keeping the legit front strong while we push back on the bad players. We help our community, Vinny. We don't charge for protection. You'll learn fast. We need fresh eyes like yours. Someone who knows how the New York crews think. Because they're coming, Vinny. Sooner or later. We've been choking their routes through Santos for years. Seizing their laundered shipments. Feeding intel to the honest federales. When they trace you here, it'll light a fire. But you'll be ready. Protected. And not alone. Vinny nodded slowly. Processing. The penthouse, the car, the security. It felt like armor. But Paula, her name hung in the air like a promise of something warmer amid the strategy. He pictured her, confident, sharp, tied to this world in ways he was just beginning to understand. A spark of curiosity, maybe more, stirred. He pushed it down for now. Focus. Antonio stood, clapping Vinny on the shoulder. Go rest a bit. Shower. Paula will be here soon. Welcome to the family, Hermao. Properly this time. Vinny watched him walk to the balcony, lighting another cigarette. Outside, the favela hummed into evening. Funk bass thumping from a nearby house. Kids laughing in the alley. The distant horn of a ship pulling into port. He rose, heading to the spare room to change. In the mirror, he saw Vinny Santos staring back. Not Jake. Not anymore. The name fit better now. And tonight, with Paula coming, the future felt a little less like survival, and a little more like possibility. That evening alone on the balcony, Vinny pulled out the small wooden elephant Gloria had given him. He turned it in his hands, smooth from years of touch. The city spread below, port cranes moving like slow giants, ships waiting to unload the world's goods, the favela climbing the hill like it refused to be ignored. He wasn't Jake anymore. Not really. The debts, the alleys, the blood ties, they were ghosts now, fading in the Brazilian sun. But ghosts don't always stay buried. He knew that. Still, for the first time in years, the future felt open. Not safe, not easy, but his. Vinny slipped the wooden elephant back into his pocket, stood, and headed inside to shower and get ready to see his new home. The spare bathroom was small, but the hot water hit like a reset. He stood under it longer than necessary, letting the steam wash away the last traces of New York grime that still clung to his skin, even if it was only in his head. When he stepped out, towel around his waist, the mirror fogged over showed a man who looked different. Not just the clean shave or the tan starting to creep in from one day under the Brazilian sun. Something in the eyes. Less hunted. More expectant. He dressed simple. Fresh jeans, a plain black t-shirt, the sneakers still holding up. No need to impress yet. He was Vinny Santos now. Time to own it. The knock came at 7:05 sharp, firm, not hesitant. Antonio called from the balcony. "That's her, go on." Vinny opened the front door. Paula stood there like she belonged to the evening itself. Mid-20s, maybe late 20s. Hard to pin down. Dark hair kind of bewildered and short, strands escaping around her face from the humidity. Tanned skin glowing under the porch light, eyes sharp and dark. The kind that took you in and decided things before you spoke. She wore fitted black jeans, a black linen blouse untucked, gold earrings catching the light, and low flat shoes that said she could walk these hills all day without complaint. A small leather crossbody bag slung across her shoulder. No makeup overload, just enough to accent what was already there. Beautiful didn't cover it. She carried herself with the easy confidence of someone who knew exactly where she stood in the world and didn't need to prove it. "Vinny Santos," she said, voice warm but direct, a faint American lilt under the Portuguese rhythm. "I'm Paula. Pi said you'd be ready." He managed a half smile, suddenly aware of how his own accent probably sounded rough next to hers. "That's me. Nice to meet you." She tilted her head, appraising him without making it obvious. "You look less like a fugitive than I expected. Good start," she said with a slight Portuguese accent. Vinny laughed, short, surprised. "Guess that's progress." "Come on, car's out front. Let's get you settled before the night gets away from us." They stepped down the steep concrete steps to the street. A sleek black Audi Q5 waited. Tinted windows, low profile, no flashy rims. Practical luxury. Paula clicked the fob. The lights flashed once. She slid into the driver's seat. Vinny took passenger. The interior smelled of new leather and faint coconut air freshener. She started the engine, pulled out smoothly, navigating the narrow favela roads like she'd done it 1,000 times, which she probably had. "First rule," she said as they descended toward the flatter streets near the port. "Your Portuguese is functional, but it screams gringo. We'll work on that. Say obrigado again." "Obrigado." She winced theatrically. "Obrigado. Softer on the G, like you're whispering to a lover, not ordering a beer. Try it." He repeated it, slower. She nodded. "Better. Keep going. By the time we hit the apartment, you'll sound like you at least visited here before." The drive took 20 minutes. Out of the Moro, past the container yards lit up like Christmas, along the canal where ships' horns echoed low across the water. Streetlights flickered on, turning the city gold and shadow. Paula drove with one hand on the wheel, the other gesturing as she talked. Pi filled you in on most of it, I bet. The family, the business, the good guys with bad habits speech. He likes that one. Something like that. She glanced over. It's true, mostly. We keep the ports clean where we can. Starve out the real poison cartels, crooked politicians, the New York leftovers who still think they can launder here. But it's not charity, it's survival. And power. You get that part, right? Vinny nodded. Starting to. Good. Because you're not just a guest. You're blood. Joao's son. That means people will watch you. Some will test you. Others will try to use you. Stay sharp. They turned into a gated complex on the edge of the canal district. High white walls topped with discreet razor wire. Security booth with 2 guards who nodded at Paula without question. The gate rolled open. Inside, manicured grounds, palm trees, a fountain lit blue. 3 mid-rise buildings, modern, but not ostentatious. She parked in an underground garage spot marked Director Santos. Your new home, she said, killing the engine. They took the private elevator, keycard access only, straight to the top floor. The doors opened into a small foyer with marble tile. Paula swiped another card. The double doors clicked open. The penthouse unfolded like a breath held too long, finally released. Open-plan living room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the port. Lights twinkling on cargo ships. The water black and restless. Polished wood floors, cream sofas, a massive TV mounted above a stone fireplace that probably never got used. Full kitchen, stainless appliances, granite counters, already stocked with basics. Coffee, beer, fruit in a bowl. Balcony doors led out to a wide terrace with outdoor seating, a small grill, and that same killer view. 2 bedrooms down a short hall, 1 master with king bed, walk-in closet, ensuite bath bigger than his old New York apartment. The other, a guest/office setup. Vinny walked the space slowly, taking it in. This is a lot. Paula leaned against the kitchen island, arms crossed, watching him. Directors live well, but it's not free. You earn it. Every day. He turned back to her. I get that. Thank you. For the tour. For the ride. For not treating me like some lost puppy. She smiled. Small. Real. You're not lost. You're home. And your family. She pushed off the island, handed him a small envelope. Keys, codes, garage fob. Driver's name is Marcos. He's downstairs if you need him tonight or tomorrow. Maid's schedule is on the fridge. Groceries delivered if you text the number inside. Any questions? Do they speak English? More or less, Paula responded. But you need to work on your Portuguese. So then, when do we start? The real work. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. sharp. Dad's office at the main terminal. Wear something nice but not flashy. I'll pick you up at 7:30. We'll grab cafe on the way. And practice your obrigado until it doesn't hurt my ears. Vinny chuckled. Deal. She headed for the door, paused, looked back. Get some rest, Vinny Santos. Tomorrow's when it starts counting. The door closed softly behind her. Vinny stood alone in the quiet penthouse, city lights painting the walls. He walked to the balcony, leaned on the railing. The port hummed below, cranes moving slow, ships waiting, the endless rhythm of trade. Somewhere out there, old debts and old enemies still breathed. But here, in this high place with the name that finally fit, the air tasted different. He pulled the wooden elephant from his pocket, set it on the railing like a sentinel. Then he went inside, locked the door, and, for the first time in years, let himself breathe. End of chapter 3.